Hey, Course 3, welcome back to Lesson 12. We've dealt with fractions. We've dealt with percents. Now we're looking at decimals. Decimals are just another way to talk about the part of a whole. So, as we look at decimals, here's a decimal chart. This chart can be copied in your book. If you'd like to pause the video to get that chart copied, that'd be a great idea. The only thing, our book is going to go to millions. So as we look at this chart and we have the decimal point, units, that's my ones place, my tens place, my hundreds place, my thousands place. We know that keeps going. And then we have our tenths, hundredths, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. And the next one would be millions as we go. We're going to use this chart to help us out. Now, for your notes, for note purposes, to read a decimal, here's your review. To read a decimal, read the digits, and then name the place. Read the digits and name the place. So as you watch this video, here's an example. We're going to go here's my decimal. So this number would be 22 and, we say and for the decimal point. So and for the decimal point, 22 and 356, read the decimal place. 356 ends in the thousands, 356 thousandths. Three and 52 10,000ths. $5,676 and no 200 thousandths. 200 thousandths. So as we keep going, we can keep playing that game. 3, 7, and so as I look at this one right here, 37 and we have four numbers, so it's 20,562 hundred thousandths. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to write down 37 and 20,562 hundred thousandths. You just won't see that. You'll see the decimal form. We'll leave a couple of those spots there as we come back. But ordering a decimal, we line up and then compare the place value. If we look at our chart, the further right we go, the larger those numbers become. Same thing happens here. Here we have 5 tenths. So if I take these numbers and I line them up, and here I have 5 tenths, 41 hundredths, 5 hundredths, 405 thousandths. I'm going to put 0 placeholders here. So if I want to line these up from least to greatest, I'm going to start at my ones, 0, so they're all the same. Now we'll move to the tenths. 5, 4, 0, 4. The smallest one, the smallest one is this one, because there's no tenth. So 0.05. Gone. So now we're looking 5, 4, 4. So we're going to look at the ones that are 4 tenths. This one has 1 hundredth. This has 0 hundredths. Even though there's a 5 in the thousandths place, the 100th is bigger. So 0.405. 5 tenths, 4 tenths. We're going to go with the 4 tenths. 0.41, 0.5. Same thing here. If I were to line these up, I'm going to line it up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 0.99999. I'm going to bring the 1 over. And then I have the 1.009, and I have a 0.9. Fill in the missing places with a 0. So if I wanted to compare these, and I want to look in order from least to greatest, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers, Here we have 0, 0, 0. So my first focus is going to be on the ones that have 0, 0, 0. So then I look at my 9/10. I have 0 tenths, 9 tenths, 9 tenths. So if those are my smallest numbers, then 0.0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nines. So if we wanted to read that number, 99,999, 10, 100,000, 10,000, 100,000 millionths is what we would end up getting. So this one here, done. Next, I look at 0, 0. This one and this one still, 0, 0. 9, 9, 9, 0. Whoa, that's it. 0.9 followed by 0.99999. So these are finished. I have a 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 9. 1 would be the next smallest, followed by 1 and 9 tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So that's how we order numbers. Looking at this idea of to write a decimal as a fraction. You write a decimal as a fraction. I think the easiest way to do this is to write it the way you read it. And then to simplify. So 2.2, we would read that as 2 and 2 tenths, and then simplify 2 and 1/5. What is that number? If you don't remember, you go back to your chart. 55 hundredths. So 55 hundredths is 55 over 100. Divide both by 5 and I get 11 over 20. 55 hundredths is 11 20ths. To go the other way, to write a fraction as a decimal, I would simply state, to remember, fractions are division problems. So divide and answer as decimal. So if we look at the fraction of 1/2, that's simply said 1 divided by 2. 1 divided by 2. You've got to remember which one it is. 1 divided by 2. Put my decimal, 5 times, and done. 0.5. We had 1/3. 1 divided by 3. Put a decimal, put a 0, 3, 9, which is 1, add a 0, bring it down. We can see that this is going to keep repeating. So if you remember repeating decimals, get the 0.3. Or we might have something like 8 divided by 2. As I look at 8, whoa, yeah, sure. 8 divided by 2, 8 halves. 8 divided by 2, 4. That's a whole number. But that's what that fraction equals. So now as we look at those three different things, we're reminded here, changing a fraction or a rational number to a decimal could have three outcomes. One, we could get an integer. And that's what happened on this one right here. The answer became an integer. The second outcome that is possible is we get a terminating decimal, a decimal that stops. And that was this one right here. We got a terminating decimal. We eventually divided till we were done. You know, I'll show you one more of those, 3/8. 3 divided by 8, add a decimal. 8 goes into there twice, 16, 3, which is 24. Subtract 6, I got to add a 0, bring it down. 7, 56, subtract 4, add a 0, bring it down. And you can see it ends. That's a terminating decimal. And then the last one, you might get a repeating decimal. And we got that in our second one, 1/3. A lot of these will repeat, and those are our three options of what can happen. But the method to get them, same for each of them. So if you haven't looked at your examples, guys, there are a lot of examples in this one. Make sure you take a look, take time to read that lesson and take a look. Let's do a couple of the practice problems together, and then I'll have you do some on your own. So as we look at practice problem A, use words to write the decimal in problem A and in B. You just have to memorize your decimal places. If we wanted to use that chart, I can come to the chart and I can say, okay, that one is 11.12. 11 and 12 hundredths. And that's what we write down. 11. That's not right. 11 and 12 hundredths. As I look at C, write each fraction as a decimal. Now I shared with you earlier that we can divide this. So 3 divided by 5, add a 0, put it up, 6, and I get 30. 6/10. If you remember when we did the percents, and we said we could find a power of 100, well, if you can find any power of 10, like multiplying this, we get 6/10. 6/10 is 6/10. This method here works for all fractions. The other one works for some. Your choice how you decide to do that. Let's look at F. As I work down that list, F and H, write each decimal in problems F through I as a fraction. Again, how do we write the decimal as a fraction? We write it how we read it. This is 5 hundredths. So 5 hundredths divided by 5/5 is 1/20. 1 and 2/10. 1 and 2/10. 1 and 1/5. J. Write each decimal as a percent. Well, to change any decimal into a percent, remember, a decimal is part of a number, just like the fraction was part of a number. If for the decimal, if we multiply by 100%, and for the fraction we multiply by 100%, we're going to multiply these by 100% as well. So 8 times 100%, we move the decimal 2 places to the right, it becomes 80%. And remember, 100% is equal to 1, so what we're doing is we're multiplying by the identity property. So this same thing, multiply by 1, the identity property. Every power of 10 moves the decimal 2 places, so here we hit 87.5, 87 and 5/10%. Moving through. N, 2%, 24%. We can only imagine what we're going to do with these. It says write each percent as a decimal. These might be the easiest ones to do, because if we divide this by 200%, we have 2 hundredths. I don't like when teachers just say move the decimal 2 places to the left. That's essentially what we're doing, but it's because we're dividing by 100%. Same thing here, divide by 100%. Move the decimal 2 places because of the division, and we get 24 hundredths, which is the fraction we wrote. As we keep moving, we've got this problem here. We've got -0.4, we got 2.3, we got 0.6, we got 1/2. We're asked to put these in order from least to greatest. Hopefully you can look at those and you can see it. One tool we do have a number line. If you need to use a number line, you can do it. But as I look at this, I see 2.3. That's actually more than 2. 2.3 is going to be somewhere over here. 1/2 would be somewhere here. 6/10 is more than a half. So my 6/10 is going to be somewhere here. And then we got negative, this is the only negative one, so it's going to be down there. So as I look at those, my order If you want to make them all decimals, line them up, you can do that as well. So continuing on, problem S. It says what length is 75% of 12 inches? Remember, of means multiplication. 75%, we have to change that. You can go fraction or decimal. In this case, it might be best to do 3/4. 3/4 of 12 over 1. Because they cancel, gives me 9 inches. Remember, there's an inches here, so that inches has to stay. Did not get canceled. T, we're going to do the same way. We got 7.5% of, so we're looking at a tax problem. So divide by 100%. Percent signs cancel. So I move the decimal 2 places by dividing. So 0.75 times 48. I tend to use decimals if I'm dealing with money. But now we can multiply these numbers. And 40, 24, 0, 56, 28, 29, 30, 33. Add them. Think about where we put my decimal place. 3 numbers, 1, 2, 3. My final answer, $3.60. If I start with dollars, I end with dollars. Making sure I include my label. The last one asks you to estimate. So estimating 8 1/4, essentially 8.25% sales tax on $39.79. Estimating doesn't mean rounding our answer. Estimating means rounding before we begin. So 8 1/4% is 8% of this multiplication, $40. That's what we're looking at doing. I will divide by 100% because I can't multiply by a percent. I have 8 over 100. I might keep it that way, and I'll show you why. Canceling purposes. A 10 goes into this, and a 10 goes in this. Now, I'm not even going to cancel my 10 and 4 because I get 32 over 10. 32 divided by 10 is a whole lot easier than if I would have canceled and had 4 over 5 and had 16 over 5. Because dividing by 10, I move the decimal 1 place, so my estimate is $3.20. I'm going to have you go ahead and pause the video, and then when you complete the rest of the practice problems, you can unpause the video, come back for the answer. So let's take a look at what you've got. D, 2.25, 2 and 25 hundredths. 0.005 for E, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 5 thousandths. G is 1 over 40. J is 1 over 1,000. K appears to be 130%. M, 0.2%. If you struggled with that one, M, we got 0.002. How do we change any decimal? We multiply it by 100%. That 100% only causes the decimal to move twice, which is why it's 0.2%. O, 0.2. G, or Q, 0.3, hundredths, thousandths. And here's the Y. Change it. Divide, move the decimal 2 more places. That's where we get our answer. That is the end of this lesson. Good luck on that tonight. Look at the similarities. Find that rule, that pattern that works both ways. God bless you guys. We'll see you again soon.